Can you beat Skylanders Spyro's Adventure without jumping? The rules are pretty simple. I have to try and see how far I can get through the game without ever pressing the jump button. Immediately in level 1 we come across our first obstacle. This bridge gets broken by a falling boulder, so now we can't jump across like you would normally do. I tried going around the long way, but then we run into this other issue. Another bridge is broken that we can't get across. After a bit more exploring, I found out we could get by if we pass through Turtle Gully and make it up to the mountain here, which thankfully has some bounce pads so we don't have to jump to get up, and now we're back on track. In level 2, there's this really unfortunately placed ledge which you need to get up, but we barely just can't get enough height without jumping. I tried using Stealth Elf's Sneak and her rolls to get up, but it doesn't give you enough height. But then I remembered about this secret hidden life elemental zone that the developers put in, which allows us to cross over and drop onto the island which we were trying to get to earlier. In level 3 there's a minor speed bump where we can't cross this gap without jumping, but luckily the bridge is sloped just enough so you can walk up it without needing to jump to get across. Level 4 begins and immediately we have a problem. There's no way to cross this gap without using your jump and double jump. And just up ahead, we can't take to the shortcut to the end of the bridge, which is normally a big time save, but hopefully we can get around. It is a little bit trickier than normal because there's holes here in the level, so if you're not careful with your attacks, you're going to fall in and lose a lot of progress. At the end of the level, we have a slight issue where we can't actually get high enough up to reach the hitbox of the air source, but luckily if you spin at just the right angle, you can actually make yourself tall enough. How did I get under this tank here? What the heck? This gap is just barely out of range of Sunburn's teleport. If it were a little bit closer, we'd be able to teleport across, but unfortunately it's not possible. But luckily, if you go back to the left in this level, there's a secret teleporter to get you across. Darkwater Cove has this tall jump up the pirate ship that we're not able to make. I was hoping Voodoo would be able to grapple onto this mast and maybe stand on it for just long enough to grapple across, but apparently it's not solid. By performing a tech known as a super bounce, you can get much more height off the bounce pads than you're normally able to. Even from here I can't grab this mast though, so it's still not over yet. You have to make a very precise drop to be able to make it over the ledge, and it took me a few tries, but eventually I was able to make it. But our problems aren't over yet. Gurglefin blocks the bridge here, and normally you're supposed to jump over him, but of course I can't do that. I found out if you get the squid face brute to attack you just right, he can actually push you through Gurglefin. And we need to use this tag once again to get past him the second time he does this. Another pirate ship that we can't jump over the wall, so it's time for another super bounce to land on some of the obscure geometry at the top of this section. Once we're up there, we're going to need another precise drop to make it over the edge. You can see here I barely missed it. Before long, we're able to make it over and beat this level. Leviathan Lagoon presents a pretty big problem to us. We can't cross this gap by jumping across the turtles, and gliding doesn't quite get us far enough. This is a big problem because there's a statue over there which we need to collect in order to open up the end of the level. Normally if you try and sequence break and glide over the water to skip it, then the Leviathan will grab you and send you back. After a really long time, I found out that if you fly very precisely, you can actually avoid the trigger for it. The devs even put in a secret failsafe message in case you pass over there without collecting the statue, which I've never heard about before. Of course, if we want to backtrack for the statue, it's up on top of this ledge, so we can't reach it. But by pure luck, I ended up destroying this building and finding out there was a teleporter that takes you right up there. I can't believe it was there. I would have been stuck for so long figuring out what to do. There is one more gap that we again can't cross without using our double jump. But, as you may know, you can destroy this pirate ship to reveal some treasure. And if you shoot it while it's facing to the right, it'll actually create a platform you can walk across. Now it's on to the first boss fight. Zap in particular is pretty difficult to dodge without being able to jump over his projectiles, and the Doom Sharks as well, they become much more tricky. But without any real platforming required here, it's just a matter of being able to live long enough to not die. Once again, I gotta find a good lineup to be able to glide into the water source. And in Stone Town here, you normally can jump up to these stairs. I tried using Terrafin's Belly Slam, which is not a jump, even though it looks like it. It is one of his attacks. but it's not enough height. If you push the turtles in a very precise way, you can actually create a formation that will make a path leading all the way up using just the ramp, so you don't have to jump, which is pretty incredible. We can't get across this gap with the turtles unless you can swim, then it's easy. Here I've got a bit of an issue where I need to jump out from this walled off area and there's nothing I can do. Or so I thought. I started messing around and shot some icicles, noticing these enemies would actually attack them. And after a while, one of the enemies actually hit the wall as well as the icicle. If I can get them to do that one more time, they'll break open the wall for me and I'll be able to get past. And it actually worked. It was a really cool solution. I was super glad I was able to find that. Treetop Terrace ends up having no difficulties at all. But Falling Forest is a different story. You're supposed to jump up these tanks after destroying them, but obviously we can't do that. I tried walking up the slopes and seeing if there was any jank where I could glitch my way up, and just barely it looks like it's possible. You've got to get just the right angle and roll timing in order to go up the slopes without falling off the edge. This is much more difficult than it looks, and I had to do it 3 times throughout the level. The boss fight, just like last one, is made significantly more difficult by not being able to jump. Dodging these orbs is much easier if you can just jump in between them, but because we can't, I've got to dodge and weave through everything. These red enemies, whatever they are, will destroy a couple of the orbs whenever you hit them, as long as those orbs are nearby, so it does give you a little bit of leeway, but it doesn't make this section easy. One quick stomping of these minions later, and I'm able to roll onto the Eternal Life Source, another precise pickup here. No difficulties in Troll Warehouse. And Goo Factory has these indestructible walls you're supposed to jump over, but the cannons can actually just break them for you. In Battlefield, I'm not able to jump up to where the cannon area is, so I'm gonna have to see if I can find another way. And luckily there's a secret teleporter down this area, which will take you right there. I bet only a few players actually know about that, because it's so much easier to just jump up to the cannon. And here too, I can't jump up to where the Mega Bomb platform is. But besides those, the rest of the level is pretty easy with just one quick source pickup. Next level after that, we're supposed to jump up and attack this eye, but you can actually just throw the bomb at it and it works out just fine. Here's another pit that we can't walk across. But again, if you're clever with these blocks, you can actually push them right into position to make a path. The entrance to Creepy Citadel is locked, and the key requires jumping across a platform to get to, so I'm gonna have to go around back and enter through the sewer that's luckily here. I think that's a sewer. Onto the third Chaos boss fight, and this one is significantly more difficult with not being able to jump. The lasers come in very unpredictably, and sometimes they can just corner you. Without being able to jump, there's no way to get out. But I am able to beat it. If only I could jump onto this block to get that mole. I couldn't find a way to grab the pickaxe, but fortunately, because I'm playing as Prism Break, I'm actually able to destroy all these crystals on my own. The rest of the level is pretty easy, though we can't jump into the minecart to steer it, so I gotta push from behind. This attack from the fire minion battle doesn't really change when you can't jump, thankfully. However, this one is difficult. And of course, defeating the minions at the end is no more difficult than in a regular playthrough. Alright, real talk, bit aside, I was trying to signal here like, hey, we gotta jump this wall to get the key over to the gate. And I accidentally discovered a glitch. If you walk into this corner while holding up, you can use Camo's secondary attack and it will gain height. And you can use it multiple times in a row right before you land, and you'll bounce again and gain more height. This glitch is called the Camo Trampoline or the Campoline, and it works against a lot of the walls in this game, not just this corner here. I was trying to jump over the side, but the closest I could get was just putting the key in the gate. You can get quite a bit of height from this if you time it properly several times in a row. Enough to even get out of bounds here and get stuck. But speedrunners are already finding uses for it in real runs, like here to get over this wall. Getting back to the challenge run, most of the last few levels have basically no obstacles that you need to jump across, so it's time for the boss fight. And all the hardest parts of all the previous boss fights are here to make it more difficult for us. With all the lasers, doom sharks, and magma balls all at once, it can be pretty difficult to manage everything. And you need to focus on damaging the boss too, of course. Along with all the other boss fights, this is a huge difficulty spike without being able to jump. I chose to play as Double Trouble here so I can lock onto the boss without having to focus on it, because I was going to need to spend all my attention dodging these obstacles. But even still, it wasn't enough, and I actually died for the first time in this run, so I had to switch to my backup. Unfortunately, flying doesn't get you high enough off the ground to dodge any of these obstacles, so we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, by which I mean not jumping. As we finish up the battle, I just want to thank anyone who's watching this video or has been watching the channel. This is the 1-year anniversary video of when I've been posting Skylanders content, and I really appreciate everyone who's been watching and leaving comments and such. And now you all know that it's actually possible to beat Spyro's Adventure without ever jumping a single time.